Welcome to the show.
We're just a couple of friends inside a refrigerator.
Hello and welcome to the Fridge Friends podcast. I'm your host Jake Martin, and I'm very excited to have Reese Samuels with us in the fridge.
What up?
Yeah. It's been a long time coming. I've been wanting to have you on the show for quite a while.
No, sorry it took me forever to figure out my work schedule.
Oh, that's all right. I mean, it's perfect time to have you on the show. I know you have Northwest Black Comedy Festival coming up.
Yeah.
This show, unfortunately, I think is going to air after that. When is that festival? Next week?
It is next week. It's the 16th through the 19th, so it's
Oh,
in
okay.
Portland, Oregon.
Yeah, maybe I'll have this one come out this upcoming Wednesday though, and just bump the next person so that way you can still promote your big trip, because I know I saw a lot of pictures from that last year, and it's kind of like a big deal for the year. And
It is. This will be my 4th year going to it.
oh, sweet.
It's honestly like kind of like a big family reunion. You see a lot of people who like have returned from years previous, and you also meet a lot of new people as well. So it's a lot of it's just a lot of fun. It's just a beautiful example of just like Black joy, love, and family. Like as we just all come together.
And it's a bunch of shows together too, isn't it?
Yeah,
that's sweet.
it's like 10 showcases and 4 podcasts, I believe.
Oh wow.
I think.
Yeah.
Don't quote me on that. I'm pretty sure it's 10 showcases and 4 podcast recordings.
And all of it in Portland?
Yep, all of it's in Portland. It's at the Curious Comedy Theater, and they also have like an annex too that we're using as well.
Okay.
So, yeah, no, it's going to be a really good time. Like one of the headliners, Curtis Cook, he is such a nice man, and he writes for American Dad. Which is really, like, really cool. He was there last year, and we got to like hang out and go sing karaoke and stuff. So I'm excited to see him again. Yeah,
that's super cool. I love that show. Does he do just writing for it, or does he have some kooky voices he busts in there?
I think he just does writing for it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
One of my favorite things is have you ever seen Seth MacFarlane as a guest on a show like The Tonight Show or something, and they tell him to do all the voices he can do, and it's like half the characters of the show?
Oh yeah, he does.
But I feel like he would be really good at stand-up because he could just switch back and forth between all these different characters that everyone already knows and loves from the show. But
probably either that or he'd just be obnoxious.
Yeah, that's true. I've seen some wild impressions or people that think they're good at impressions and are not. And,
right. I don't try to. I don't do impressions. Like, I can sometimes impress, like, I can do, like, mannerisms of somebody, but, like, I can't do, like, voices.
Yeah. I've only done impressions 2 times, tried it out. One of them I was doing for a little while as, like, a COVID joke, where I do the voice of the guy, the scientist, like doctor scientist guy off the Simpsons show.
Oh, okay.
Because he has like a real wild voice, and so I was just kind of like making fun of like scientists and doctors during the whole pandemic thing, and I'd use that voice to do it. And I feel like the voice was probably funnier than the material, you know? And maybe it's because I'm like, all the COVID stuff was kind of like hack at some point where it's like, of course everyone's going to talk about this because it's all that's going on. But if you hear it like back to back, and like while we were going through that was a lot of all you were hearing. So I was like, how can I do this differently?
Like I honestly didn't like start really doing COVID jokes for like a while. Afterwards. I mean, I would talk about quarantine and like what we were doing in that aspect, but like,
well, because it's what everyone's going through.
Yeah. But like as far as like the actual like COVID virus, like I just didn't really talk about it too much, and like that whole like political aspect or the scientific aspect.
Yeah.
I was just excited that all the summer weddings were canceled.
Yeah.
I didn't have to deal with racist grandparents.
And you don't have to make an excuse. You just be like, well, there's the pandemic.
Well. Yeah, like that was the great thing about COVID. And that, and like just being like, you know, a restaurant worker. Like, I've never had that much time off, like, like that. Like,
yeah, definitely, and especially not, like, being able to still pay your bills and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. I'm, like, you know, not, like, unemployed. Or I was unemployed, but, no. Quarantine was fun. I got into a lot of board games. That was, like, my addiction.
Oh, nice. I love board games. I'm super competitive, though, so, like, I've been obsessed with winning all the board games since I was a little kid. And I really like playing cards too, so like I get like extra competitive, but now it's different because I only play we do the comedian game night thing sometimes, but mostly when I play games is with my kids, and I don't want them to like get a negative like
Yeah.
competitiveness or like bad sportsmanship or anything. So I'm always like extra nice and like try not to like win the game or like
Right.
care if I win and like celebrate them and stuff.
You
But
gotta put that's part of yourself aside when it comes to your kiddos.
yeah,
I mean, I commemorate you. I could never do it.
there's a lot of things I do that I'm like, this is a teaching thing. But it's cool because then you get introspectively kind of look at yourself and be like, oh, these are the parts of me I don't like about me that I don't want to like pass down or whatever.
Right.
Which is kind of a weak example, like, oh, I get mad at Monopoly. You know, but
It's like I can't remember who it was, but one of my friends, they had told me like with parenting, it's like, you're learning as you're teaching.
yeah,
And it's like
yeah,
you're teaching
definitely.
kids like what to do, but you're also learning like what not to do in
Yeah.
the same light. I'm like, it just sounds too complicated for me. I'm good.
Yeah.
Give me animals. I'm good with those.
Well, animals
I mean,
are awesome
children
too.
are
They get
animals, but
most children.
Yes.
My
Even
kids can
dogs and
definitely be
cats.
animals. I have my 2-year-old. He likes to throw toys. Like he'll be like holding an action figure by the feet and spinning around and then just let it go or like throw it up in the air. From that habit, he's broke a window and 2
man.
TVs.
Oh,
Yeah,
no.
crazy. Yeah. Like,
oh man. Luckily, like the pets I've had, like even cats, I've luckily never had a cat break like a TV or something like that.
yeah.
But I definitely had a cat who just loved knocking my plants off the counter. That was great. I
Uh,
learned my lesson.
yeah, that
Keep
makes
the
a
plants
huge
on
ass
the-
mess too, because
Yes.
you got broken glass, you got potting soil everywhere, and your plant's like your baby, so you're like,
Yeah.
oh, why don't you do this to him?
It's like, hopefully I can save it. Just hold on.
Yeah, one of the most mad I've ever seen my wife get at our kids was the same kid who's breaking shit all the time, was like pulling leaves off of one of her plants,
Oh
and she didn't
no.
like notice that he was doing it till he pulled a lot of leaves off of it, and then she's like just super sad for the plant, but then like upset at him, but trying to like tell him why you can't just like pluck all his shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I like the pathos plants. Those
Oh
ones
yeah.
are like when you take the leaves off, if you throw it in water, they can sometimes
Root right back up.
So it's like
Yeah,
those are good ones.
yeah, there's a bunch of cool plants like that, and like spider plants, they do that really well.
Spider plants. Spider plants should be easy, but for some reason I'm just not good with them.
Yeah.
I hate peace lilies. Don't ever get a peace lily.
Oh, I have a huge one
Oh my
actually.
gosh, those things just look like water whores, man. That's all they want. They just want water all the time.
I didn't realize that was like a high maintenance plant.
Oh my gosh.
And my grandmother's moving to Mexico because like that's her retirement plan, is to sell her house and then move to a condo in Mexico where she doesn't have to do like all the upkeep and stuff on it, and then it's a much lower like cost of living per year. So when her husband is all done working, they're in the process of moving down there right now. They've like gone and looked at the place they're going to live at, and now they're trying to like get rid of everything they own because they're just going to move like one trip down there. And I was well, she is like a huge collector, borderline hoarder, so she has all this stuff. So it's been like a few year process of her like, oh, this stuff I can just get rid of to anybody, and then this stuff I want to give to this person. And I was out visiting her and like getting a bunch of stuff from her, and she gave us a peace lily because she's like, I've had this for 15 years and it's huge.
Oh
and my wife's like in love with plants, so she's like, oh, I'll definitely take that. And I'm like, we're on the Oregon coast, we have an 11-hour drive home, and I'm just gonna hold this big ass thing the whole ride home, and then it's like the most needy plant ever. It's almost died like 3 times.
Yeah.
I keep telling her, I'm like, hey, she kept it alive for 15 years. Like, if you kill her plant, she's gonna be pissed.
Yeah.
I told you didn't want to take on this. Like,
15 years. I can't even imagine the size of that thing.
Yeah, it's giant.
The one I have is just like tiny, and like, I don't know, I feel like I need to move it into a bigger pot, but I'm like, I don't want it to get bigger.
Then you have to give it a half gallon of water every day.
I'm like, oh, okay, but yeah. No.
Thirsty plants.
Thirsty plants, man. Man, yeah, I never thought I'd just be talking about plants in a podcast. That's fine.
Yeah. We're super exciting. No, I try to keep this show like as least like interviewy as possible,
Yeah.
so we always end up going on like crazy tangents. The podcast that was going to be coming out this week, but it'll probably come out the last week of the month, so that way we can get this out before your festival. I think we ended up talking about some kid who was like kidnapped, went on this long tangent about a weird story. I hadn't heard of this story before, but like 5 minutes into us talking about it, I'm like, whoa, this took a real dark turn.
Yeah. That's always fun.
Yeah, well, and that's kind of how most of my comedy goes anyway. You've seen me on stage. I
Definitely.
end up going into a lot of dark stuff.
I've like recently tried to like explore more into like the dark side,
Yeah,
like the darker side of jokes and everything. And for the most part, it's been going all right. Like, I don't know, like back when I did attempt to take my life, like not a lot of people, like nobody knew about it. 'Cause,
yeah,
like,
I didn't know about it.
I was like, well, I was living in a mountain town and like was just very much putting up a mask and then just
Mm-hmm.
like disappearing on my days off, and it was just like going into the wilderness to go up a peak and
Yeah,
try and just throw myself off, and it just wasn't happening. So it's like now I'm
that's wild.
yeah.
Well, just like going up, like in
Yeah.
solitude, and like thinking about it the whole way up there, and then like each time deciding, like, oh, not
yeah,
this time. Which
yeah.
I mean, thank God,
Thank you for
but
it. But man, I will tell you, like coming down after that was like so much harder because like not only did I have the adrenaline of like not doing this just like terrible thing, but
yeah,
I still had the adrenaline of like summiting a mountain.
yeah, yeah.
And like after the second time, I was just like, you know what? I'm gonna start bringing a beer with me because that way I can like drink the beer and like calm down.
Yeah.
And yeah, and then just eventually it was just kind of like I just talked myself out of it. And it's like this is ridiculous.
It
Like,
just
you're
becomes a hiking thing. After a while, you're like,
yeah.
every so often I come up here, maybe I'll jump,
It's
maybe
like-
I'll just have a beer. Like, we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I know. After a while, it was just kind of like this is stupid. Like, life goes on.
Yeah.
Like now you can just be the person that you want to be, and like I'm now become for the most part that person I
Yeah.
wanted to be. And
Do you
like,
think a lot of that came from living in a small mountain town, like that dark period of your life? Because I lived in a really small, like rural community in eastern Idaho before for like a year and a half, and there is definitely some long, depressing periods where I'm like, there's nothing here.
yeah.
All the people here are garbage. Like,
It wasn't even like the people like I see the people of like Stanley are beautiful people.
yeah.
I loved everybody.
But it's
that I
always a
worked with,
certain
but
type of
it was,
people.
like,
Like, there's
it
different
is.
types of communities in the mountains, and like
Right.
Stanley may be a little different than some, but it seems like with a small community, it's all the same type of people, and they're all kind of in their own little.
See, like Redfish Lake Lodge was very different because like they hired people from like all over the place. Though like a lot of them did come from Jerome, Idaho, so it was a lot of Mormon kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
A lot of Mormon kids.
Just up there for working.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
you also had like the kids that just came from all other states and everything. And there's like one of the main housekeepers up there, like the manager, he's Russian, like Olaf,
Oh,
and he
okay.
is or Oleg, I can't remember his name now. It's something like that, and he's crazy. Like he would like swim the lake in May.
Wow.
It's like yeah,
There's still ice floating in it.
Yeah, it's a glacier lake. There's still ice in it, and you're like, what are you doing, you crazy Russian man?
He's like, in my country, this is summer.
He was just nuts, like, but very, yeah. So you just get like a various like amount of people there, but I mean, like Redfish Lake Lodge is 7 miles outside of Stanley, so like
Yeah.
it's not even a part of the mountain town.
Yeah, it's,
You're
people
its
only go
own-
there to go to that lodge.
Yeah, it's like its own compound
Mhm.
basically, and like all the employees live together and everything. So it's like you're constantly around one another from like May until October, and let me tell you, come September.
Yeah, it
You-
sounds like a reality TV
Dude.
show.
Actually, I would say like mid-August, like just before the schools get back in, like there's just like this tension throughout everybody, and it's just because you're all eating together and you're living together. It's kind of like an adult summer camp almost.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's just tensions get high. People sleep with one another and then they break up halfway through the season.
But they have to stay in the
And then-
same house
but
for
they
the
have to
rest of
stay in the
it.
same like housing area. So it's just like,
Yeah.
I've heard the drama has lessened since I had worked there, but
Who
It was,
knows? I
yeah,
mean, they
it was
probably just say that to make it seem nice so that you want to
yeah,
go back up there or something.
it was a wild time though.
I
Like,
did a similar thing. Like the only reason I was living in that small town I was talking about was to work at a lodge where they like provided housing for you, but they gave us all our own little cabin because it was like they rented out cabins at the lodge, but they also had one street of the lodge was all Forest Service cabins for like forest workers and firefighters that had been decommissioned because they were shitty. But you would get one for free to like work up there, and then they give you meals for free. So it's like, if you don't have anything going on, it's a good deal to like save up money and
yeah,
everything.
that's exactly what Redfish Lake was like. I mean, or is supposed to be
Yeah.
like. But I don't know. I really enjoyed my time up there. Like once I was not so sad, it just became like a different place for me. And it's
Yeah.
like, oh, okay, this used to be my home and like a place where a part of me grew,
Hmm.
but also I've like grown out of that person as well. I don't know. I got a little stoned before the show. I'm also kind of high from those damn freaking spicy nuggets.
Oh yeah, we didn't address that at all. That right before this podcast, you were on
Yeah.
Chris and Wendy's podcast eating some hot ass food.
Yeah, the uber spicy
Yeah, shout out Toast and Marshmallow Adventure Studios,
marshmallow.
getting everybody to have her assholes.
Yeah, so
That's tomorrow though. You're good for today.
I don't know. We'll see because like I read somewhere that it's like if you eat like a banana before eating spicy food and then eat one afterwards, it's supposed to like help with the whole ring of
Like
fire.
locks it in.
Yeah, so I did that. We're you know, I'll keep you updated.
Yeah, let me know, because I want to get on their show again. And the first time I did it, like the show was definitely not the worst part of that experience. It was the next day after that that I
Yeah.
was like, why did I eat all of this hot shit back to back? Like,
Yeah, no, I mean it was a good time. Like we got to I honestly bought like a bottle of hot sauce
mhm.
to like kind of prepare for like the spiciness because I was like, God, you know, I don't even know what I can handle anymore.
Yeah.
Like, because there was a one time where I was hanging out. I don't know if you know Mary Cole and Robert.
Yeah,
Cole.
yeah.
Yeah, I was hanging out at their house and we were going out to dinner with them.
Are they related?
They're married.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, Mary Cole and Robert Cole.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
they're married.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, for maybe I haven't met Robert. I was thinking of Eric Cole when you said that,
not Eric.
which is super awkward
Yeah,
because I
no,
know
yeah.
Eric Cole very well, and then I was like conflating the two, and I'm like, are they like?
No. Robert Cole. He's like a bald guy with a beard.
Oh, okay. Does he do comedy?
No.
Just Mary does.
Just married.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's why I'm not remembering his face.
Yeah, so they grow peppers every year in their garden. They dried some, and I was like, oh, you know, this one looks good, and I just like picked one up and popped it in my mouth and ate it. And Robert Cole's eyes just get big, and he was like, that was a Carolina Reaper. I was like, what? Like, I mean, it was spicy. Like, I was like, man,
yeah, just
like,
a whole fresh one.
No, it was dried.
Oh,
But
that's
still,
crazy though.
Still spicy, but anywho, during the spicy challenge, like we get through to like the Melinda's habanero condiment sauce or something like that, and that one was 400,000 Scovilles.
Yeah.
And then, you know, we talked for a little bit more, and then Chris was just like, "All right, well, it's time." And I was like, "Well, hang on. How about?" I was like, "I brought my hot sauce. Would you guys be willing to do a little chip challenge?" And they're like, "Yeah, let's do it." And so, like I said, the Melinda's one was 400,000 Scoville, and then mine was 650,000
Yeah.
Scoville. And like Chris and Wendy, like they had a little problem with it there.
Well, and like they've been doing this for a little while, so I
Yeah.
wonder if part of it, like they're starting to get used
like,
to the ones that they have. Because I know when I was on the show, some of them that said like Scoville rating wasn't necessarily the hottest ones, because part of it's like the combination of peppers that's in it.
Right.
So I don't know if you like get used to certain peppers and then you throw them a curveball. You're like, this one's 650, and you've never tried it.
It's
like,
a ghost pepper one, and what's
ooh.
If you want to try it, I do have a chip. And I do have it with me. That's up to you. We'll have a show later.
Yeah, generally this isn't that kind of podcast, but I'm down for whatever. If you wanted to do it, we could do it.
But yeah, so it has like really good flavor in the beginning, and so it's very subtle, and then all of a sudden you're just like, okay.
Yeah, you're like, there's the ghost pepper.
Yeah, it hits you like right in the back of the throat. Poor
Yeah.
Wendy. She was just like, I can feel it like right here. And just kept like touching underneath her chin.
That's such a fun
But
show though, the way they have it set up and
it
like
was
with the
fun.
lights in the car and everything.
Yeah, you feel like you're on like a game show almost.
Yeah, when I did my episode, one of the comments on it was that it looked like we're in the cash cab.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, totally.
yeah, if
Yeah.
instead of giving you money, they give you tons of hot sauce. Like,
I was doing pretty good on that last one. And it was 6.6 million Scovilles.
yeah, that's out of control.
Like I was doing pretty good, and then all of a sudden it was just like wham! I'm like right in my face, and I was like, oh god, no.
And
I think at one point I was like, you white people trying to kill me.
I
My dad always said. It's like,
didn't know it would be hot sauce though. Oh man.
it was so hot.
That's the one you have to wait 5 minutes before you
Yeah.
drink something too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
And
rough.
I did really good actually. I did not take a drink of my drink until we got to the hot sauce I brought.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I did
Yeah, you're
not
kind
pop
of
the
just like
cap.
toughing it through. See,
Just
my
enjoying
my
it.
idea behind it, because we had milkshakes, is like I'm just gonna do this as much as I can until I can't. Like as far as like the milkshake thing, even if
Yeah.
I don't feel like I have to have it, I'm gonna keep doing that so that the last one's not that bad because I got a belly full of milkshake. Didn't really work out that way.
No.
Yeah.
Chris was telling me they stopped doing the milkshakes because it just seemed to like cause stomach aches for everybody. I
Yeah.
was like, yeah, that makes sense.
Well, and it's like if you need a drink, it's like you're not getting that from a milkshake because it's like all thick and like you're trying to get it
Yeah.
off the straw or like a piece gets stuck in there and you're just sweating. You're like, come on,
Where
like.
were they getting their milkshakes from?
I think we just did like some fast food place when I did it, like Burger King or Wendy's or something. No, it wasn't Wendy's. Wendy's has the Frosties.
Yeah.
Something like that though.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't like do dairy, so I was drinking aloe water.
Oh, okay.
It was like,
Is that like a personal choice, or are you like lactose intolerant
Yeah,
or
that's
borderline or something?
borderline, I think. Like, yeah, it messes with my stomach nowadays. And
Yeah.
doctors would be like, you probably shouldn't be eating that anyway.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's good to recognize that and then just like make the adjustment yourself, even if it's not like a full-blown thing, because anything that you know that like causes a problem with you will make you feel so much better as soon as you like isolate what that is and stop doing it.
Oh, yeah,
Like-
like a big one, which man, it sucks because it's like I used to make fun of people so bad with this whole like gluten-free thing. And then,
Yeah.
like,
And you're like, oh, I have
yeah,
celiac
no,
disease.
I don't think it's celiac disease, but it's just like it's definitely like, where everyone's like, oh, it just causes like minor bloating, and I'm like, it's not bloating, whereas like it's terrible, terrible bloating and cramping. Like all in
Yeah.
my like when I'm digesting, like I can feel everything moving inside of me and it hurts. And it's only when I eat bread. I
Huh.
stop eating bread or like, gluten. Like I eat like gluten-free bread and that doesn't bother me at all.
Huh?
And it's nice.
Maybe
like,
it is
but
just the
it's
gluten then.
Just the gluten. Like
I've had a lot of stomach problems and I still haven't like quite narrowed down what it is. But I also go through these like periods where I'm like, I'm too skinny. I need to eat a lot of food, or like I'm working out and then I have to like I have a fast metabolism, so I have to eat a stupid amount of calories to try to like get something out of working out.
Yeah.
It's like yesterday I ate all this ridiculous food because I'm trying to like put on weight or whatever. And I made like 1.5 pounds of hamburger for lunch with just me and my 2 kids, and I know they're gonna eat like this much,
Yeah.
like
You're gonna eat, like,
maybe
just,
like
a
4
half
chips
cup.
off of it or whatever. And I'm like, oh, I can finish this whole thing because I'm trying to like force myself to eat more and more and more. And now that I'm not smoking weed, I don't have an appetite. So it's like I'm always forcing myself to eat anyway. So I forced myself to eat all of that. And then my wife was like, oh, we're making steaks for dinner. I'd already eaten 12 eggs during the day, and I still just like pushed
Damn.
through it and like ate everything. And then when I was going to the open mic last night, I was like, oh my God. All my shit's tied in knots. And I'm like, I don't know if this is like one thing specifically or just that I'm like forcing myself to eat way too much food.
Could be forcing yourself to eat way too much food. Could be also too much red meat at once.
Yeah, and I do eat a lot of red
And
meat.
how much
Like,
water are you drinking? Everybody everyone's like, oh, water's not the key, and I'm like, water is the key.
no, yeah, you definitely have
Not
to stay
drinking a lot of
hydrated a
water.
lot. And then where a lot of people make mistakes with like the exercise aspect of it is they're doing like creatine or amino acids or protein powder or something,
Yeah.
which now you have to drink twice. If you take amino acids, you better drink twice as much water because it dehydrates you. The same thing as creatine. Like, that's why, like, if you drink an energy drink, you're still thirsty after you drink it. It's because it just sucks all the, like, hydration out of your cells.
I haven't had an energy drink in, like, I want to say almost 5 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, it just, like, I was just drinking Red Bull one day, and then I just got, like, a stomach ache. Like, just, you know, I think I'd had, like, maybe 2 Red Bulls, and they were, like, the bigger cans over the day. And, yeah, I just got a stomach ache, and I was just like, why do I keep drinking this? Like, I don't
the whole
really...
back is just chemical names.
Yeah,
like...
I'm like, I don't feel good after I drink this. Really, like, the energy I get from it isn't the best. And then I just started, like, going to coffee shops. Oops. I started going to coffee shops and literally just getting 2 shots of espresso with, like, that's it, just 2 shots of espresso, and then just
that'll
like,
do
put
it.
a little bit of milk in it, and then just, like, take it like a shot. And then I'm all like, oh, hey, guess what? So energized for like 6 hours. And
I was never a big coffee person because of stomach problems. Like, it almost always gives me a problem with it. And so, like, I hadn't drinking much coffee in years. And then just recently for this Christmas, I got my wife one of those, like, fancy at-home espresso machines where you can just make 1 cup at a time. Now I use that shit every day. like,
you're just like, all
yeah, it tricked me into liking coffee. But I don't drink near as much energy drinks because of it, so that's good.
I mean, and yeah, coffee just, I don't know. As long as I have something in my stomach before I drink it, I just love drinking coffee.
Yeah, well, and we figured out that you can get like aftermarket cups that so you don't have to keep buying all those disposable cups that are like super expensive, and then it makes 1 cup of coffee that's like whatever flavor. You can buy ones that you just put whatever you want in there. And then wash it out. So I've been big into that. Just like get ground coffee and put it in there. No coffee goes to waste because it just makes 1 cup at a time. And then it even has like a little milk frother thing so you can make it taste super good. And yeah, it's got me big into coffee though. So
coffee, yeah, it's a good thing to have in life, obviously.
Yeah, I think it's better than the energy drinks for sure. Well, and with comedy writing, you got to stay caffeinated or else you just get bored and like drift into other stuff. I know I'm constantly like, when I sit down to write, then I'll like check this thing or like get a notification or something. And then it's like any excuse your mind can give you to like not focus on the writing. And part of that might be like ADHD or whatever, but I think a lot of it is just like not wanting to have that awkward, like, what do I write next? Feeling or like writer's block, you know, and then the only way to get through it is to like keep writing, and then if it's not turning out good material, you want to not do it, but you got to keep doing it or you're not going to find the good material in it.
I have an issue with just like sitting down and writing. Like, I don't know, it's like I can come up with a premise of something and it's like, oh, I want to try that at the open mic. I can't sit there and like sit down with that premise and write something out about it.
Yeah.
Like, it's something that just kind of like I think about it while I'm at the open mic and then I just try it.
So you do a lot of your joke writing kind of like on stage though? You come up with premises and then just work them out on stage?
Yeah, that's basically what I have to do. Like, I don't know, I've tried.
I've heard quite a few people say that works good for them, and that's like, I've tried that a little bit and I'm like, this is not for me. And maybe it's an experience thing too though. You've been doing it quite a while, haven't you?
Yeah, I'm coming up on 10 years.
Oh wow. Yeah, a decade in comedy.
Oh my gosh. It's been a whirl. It's been crazy. You know, I've had a lot of fun with it. Like, it's like, I want to say I wish I was a little further along in it, but you know, life happens and you have to sometimes put things on hold.
Well, and everything got put on hold a couple years ago in the comedy world. I know that changed everything in Boise comedy, so.
It did. It honestly did. And I think on it too, and I was like, that was only 3 years ago.
Yeah.
But for some reason, it feels like it was like 5 years ago. And it's like, oh my gosh. And you know, I don't know, things were going really well before then. And I feel like that was the same case for like a lot of other comedians. Like, a lot of comedians I knew were just getting the ball rolling. Like, big opportunities in like, you know, LA or in Vegas, and
Yeah.
not just Boise comics, like comics that I know in Denver and in LA and Portland, and
Yeah, that
all
they're
of
just
the,
like hitting their stride and then
yeah,
everything goes to a halt.
it just all went out the window. And like, you know, comedy clubs closing all across the US, or producers just stopped producing because it was just too difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah, the comedy scenes everywhere definitely got hit hard with 2020
Yeah. I'm
for
excited to
good.
hear about that Wise Guys Club that's opening in Boise though. Have you seen
Yeah,
that?
Wendy and Chris mentioned that to me. I am like sometimes really bad at being on social media, so I have not seen it
That's
yet.
the only thing that they've put out is like a couple of posts on their social media, like on Instagram from Wise Guys saying coming soon, Wise Guys in Boise. And then another one they said more details on our club in Boise, and then they haven't given any. But it's like,
Here are the details.
yeah,
Dot
it's like
dot dot.
them posting that stuff is like,
It's like the
oh,
little typing
hopefully this
bubbles.
year. Like, I'm excited about that because we don't have a comedy club in Boise,
We
so.
don't. I was just mentioning that with Chris and Wendy, where it's like, you know, Mad Sweet is like, you know, it's a brew hall. It's like they try to put on that like comedy club environment, but it's still not a comedy club.
Yeah,
It's
well, and
still,
they picked up like as much of the comedy scene as they could, and they do
yeah,
all these shows that they can. They have the best open mics in town. But like you're saying, at the end of the day, it's a business that they put comedy into,
right,
as opposed to like a business that's built around comedy, like a comedy club.
right,
And with Wise Guys, you have all the Wise Guys like success backing it, where they already, when they open the building, will have a list of people that are touring all the Wise Guys and that they
they
constantly
can bring
book,
in.
so they won't have to be doing it all themselves, which is what everyone in Boise does right now.
Right,
Like Haley doing Blue City Comedy, she's calling all those people to book them and like trying to coordinate how can I afford to get people to stay and all this, and
right,
a comedy club kind of already had all that worked out before they buy another building.
right.
You know?
Yeah, it's like they kind of have all that like that financial backing too, which is just
Yeah,
like
yeah, that's
it's it's a big thing. And it's like, you know, I don't know. I'm excited, but I'm also worried. Like,
yeah,
you know, it'll change the dynamic of the scene for sure.
yeah.
Like,
Well,
it's
hopefully it
definitely,
just like it doesn't compete with much so that the
yeah. Hopefully,
whole
it just like
community can grow.
adds to
But
it.
yeah, I think it'll add to it for sure because I know a lot of good comics like you get consistent shows, all different levels of shows, and there's only so many places that put them on in Boise.
Yeah.
So
Right.
having another place to do it and a place that if you start getting like a consistent booking there, they'll send you to the other Wise Guys.
Right. It's like you have that instant connection right there.
Yeah.
That's exciting. It's exciting for Boise. It'll make me probably hate Boise a little less. I don't hate Boise. I have a love-hate relationship with this town. Okay.
Yeah.
The city. Excuse me. It's a city now.
Have you always lived here? Like you grew up here? And I mean, I know
Uh,
you said you lived in Stanley for a little while, but I figured that was
yeah.
just a work excursion.
Yeah, I didn't like really grow up here. I kind of did. My dad was in the military, so like my mom's like, oh my god, my mom was married 3 times, all of
Hmm.
them like military men, I believe, and like we
Also,
always
tons
just,
of traveling.
yeah, we always moved around like all over the place. Can't remember where exactly we were. I want to say we were stationed in California. I could be wrong though, but
Hmm.
we were up here in Idaho visiting my grandmother, and my mom was pregnant with me, and if I'm not mistaken, they were at church. And oh, maybe because I think I was born on a Monday. I don't know exactly where they were at, but all of a sudden, like my mom just had this like extreme amount of pain,
Hmm.
and come to find out that my like I had started to shut down her kidneys. I had already shut down her gallbladder,
Oh,
and I
geez.
believe I shut down one of her kidneys already,
That's
and was like
crazy.
working on the other. And yeah, so they had to do an emergency C-section and get me out of her.
Hmm.
So I was born here in
Yeah, to
Idaho.
save your mom's life.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, and like nowadays, like we found out later on that my mom actually has lupus, and we're kind of wondering because like it's lupus is just basically your body's constantly attacking itself.
Hmm.
So it,
And maybe that just kind of offset
yeah,
it because there's all that strain on your body from,
right. So
growing a whole new life. And
we think what happened was that I had hit a point. She'd hit like a point in the pregnancy where like part of like whatever hormones she was getting from me triggered her lupus, and her lupus is actually what like it was her own system that was attacking
yeah,
her.
yeah.
So it was just a weird Weird thing. Anywho.
Yeah, that's
But,
crazy.
yeah, my grandma lived here, so we always came back here
Mm-hmm.
wherever we were.
Yeah, so you were traveling around, but then Boise was kind of like your home base where you'd keep coming back to. But
Yeah.
with the military thing, it's like being stationed different places. You're always having to go to new schools, and yeah, I went to a new school almost every single year of my childhood. We were always moving all the time, and like I I went to middle school 3 years in a row. Was the first time I ever went to the same school, and we moved to two different houses during that time. But I had just given up on like the switching schools thing. So at one point, uh, we were living over by the old Cole school, and when I was supposed to switch districts over to Meridian or whatever, I was like, I'm just gonna figure it out. Like I'll get myself to school because my parents were like, you can only stay at that school if you're gonna get there every day. And so I'd skateboard like 4 or 5 miles every day because I didn't want to leave my friends and go to the 10th new school of like my childhood or whatever. And then now it's kind of like the going to that school for 3 years in a row. I got to like meet some lifelong friends I still have today, and like the first time I was able to like care about people and not think like, oh, in 6 months it's a new group of kids, like I don't really care about you guys, you know. So then that led me to like in high school I got emancipated and was able to do my own thing, and so I kept going to the same school then because I was in charge. You know, I'm like, you don't have to move every 6 months. That's just something mom and dad were doing.
No, it is kind of crazy, like how much like that lifestyle has affected me because like with doing seasonal work, I was doing seasonal work I did Redfish for 6 seasons, so it was like moving up there every May, October, and then I also did the Virgin Islands for a number of years too. So it's just like I was also constantly.
Are those offset seasons, or did you do this? Oh, okay.
They're offset, so it was just like summer would be here, winter would be down there.
That's pretty sweet, though.
It was pretty sweet.
Yeah, winter you doing the Virgin Islands?
Yeah, it was pretty dope.
That's fucking definitely better than Idaho winter.
Oh my God, you have no idea. Like the Virgin Islands is a wild place. Like it was parties. It was. I mean, we all worked really hard at what we were doing. Like when we were at work, we were at work. But like when you partied hard. Like there were some times like we were on a boat trip one time. That was like a big thing down there. You go boat trips, you go island hopping.
Out in the ocean.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot of fun.
And we were out in a boat from 6 a.m. till 6 p.m. Just 12 hours on the water. I forgot to put on sunscreen.
Ooh.
Yeah, no, that was a bad move.
Yeah.
That was a bad move.
Well, there's nothing out there in the ocean. You're soaking up all that stuff.
It's so sick. Like, man, I like when my nose peeled and part of it was a different color than the rest of my face.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, no, it was pretty brutal. After that, I was like, oh God, never again. So if I ever get cancer on my nose, I know why.
Yeah, I have a feeling that's coming for me too. Gingers aren't supposed to be out in the sun, and I used to work construction for 10 years during the summertime with like no shirt on, and I would be super dark, and like at the first while I was doing it, actually the first time it happened to me really bad was when I was working as a lifeguard. But I would like put sunscreen on in the morning and then think that's enough for the whole day, and then just end up like fully like blistered out and like peeling skin, and then like a few seasons of doing that, then your skin just gets to the point where it like leathers out or like tans out, and then like now that happens to me every summer if I like spend enough time in the sun. But in the back of my mind, I'm like, this is not how my skin's supposed to be. So maybe that's gonna come back to haunt me.
Maybe. But we'll worry about that when you get there, right?
Yeah.
No, it was a good time.
Well, and we live in Idaho, so I get a break from it. It's not like LA where I'm like in the sun every single day.
That is true. Today was absolutely gorgeous. I'm one of those people like I need sunshine.
Yeah.
I need it to survive. Like
you'll go to Portland for the comedy festival, but you're not living in the rain.
No, I don't know if I could do it. I just honestly like I was actually at work the other day. I was bartending, and I had like bartender's worst nightmare. Like especially as a female, I had like 8 guys at my bar, but they were all separate.
Oh,
so they
fun.
didn't. Yeah, they didn't.
8 single guys that just walked in. Okay.
like where it was kind of like a nightmare because it's like a lot of men, when you guys go to bars, like if there's not sports on the TV,
Yeah.
you tend to talk to the bartender. So it was just like all of them wanted to talk to me about something, this, that, or the other. I started getting all of their stories confused. I'm like, so you're from
Yeah.
Tennessee? He's like, no, I'm from Wyoming. Okay, and
They
you're
all
from
think
Texas?
you don't care about them because they're all giving you their life story.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be funny
like-
if all 8 of those guys were like invited on a date from the same lady
No,
there who
that would
just
be just-
she's just looking through the window like not that guy, and then just
No.
brings someone else and like keeps doing it till your bar fills up. She's like, those are the 8 guys I didn't want to go out with, and then just hangs out with one guy at the booth.
It was intense though. But like at one point, like all their beers were full, and finally 2 of them had started talking together. I was like, okay, this is my opportunity
Oh,
because I saw the sunshine
yeah.
like outside the door, and I was just like, just go outside into like this little alleyway behind the bar I work at, and I literally just stood in the sun for like 5 minutes, and then came back inside and was just in such a great mood. Everybody was like, "Did you go get high out there?" I was like, "Off of sunshine."
Yeah, I got some vitamin D. That's all I needed.
I've been waiting for 4 days. 4 days
Yeah.
for some sunshine. That's all I want.
I lived in Eugene for almost 5 years, and it rains like 6 months, 7 months out of the year there, and it definitely has like a depression to it.
Yeah, I can't.
But also, I work construction, so I was like outside in the rain too, so that causes depression. You're like, this
Yeah.
fucking sucks.
It doesn't sound good to me at all.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know. Like, I hate snow, but at least like when it snows, there's like a reason for the cold. I
Hmm.
hate when it's just like cold, cloudy for no reason. I'm just like, cool, this day is just shit.
Yeah, and there's a funness to it, and there's an end to it.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, the snow has fallen. Now we're
Yeah.
done. It's not just constantly raining and nothing to show for it.
Yeah. But yeah, rainy cities, I just can't. Yeah. I don't produce enough happy chemicals up in this dome.
I've been thinking about moving back to Oregon, and that's like my biggest thing about it is like, I don't know if I want to live in that climate again where it just rains all the time. But my other thing is Texas, and pretty much solely for comedy. I've never even been to Texas, but like the housing market and comedy,
Yeah.
I'm like, oh.
I was in Texas back in August, and
Mhm.
like it wound up being like, I don't know, like I wanted to do comedy, but at the same time, I was just kind of like, let's just have this be a vacation. And I
Yeah.
really don't want to do comedy, but like I met up with Derek Hayden, and that was really cool.
Oh, okay, in Austin.
Yeah, down in Austin.
Yeah,
But
that's awesome.
Like, the city itself is it's pretty hip, pretty
Mhm.
intense. There are cops on horses at the end of the night. On like they're like kind of like Sixth and I think it is actually Sixth and Main down
Yeah.
there too. It's like where all the bars.
The
are
same
at.
same shit as here.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I'm almost positive.
That's pretty
but,
funny.
Yeah, no, that trip was a lot of fun. Like I was kind of bummed I didn't go to any of the clubs, but at the same time, it was just kind of like
A nice break.
yeah, it was also fun, not fun, but interesting to say the least. Like I'm pretty self-aware. Like I know
Mhm.
what's like. I'm very very self-aware. I know what's going on around me. I pay attention. And me and my boyfriend were walking down the street, and all of a sudden we watched this drug deal go down.
Mhm.
And like neither he or I like say anything to each other. We just keep on walking, and then all of a sudden there's like another guy coming towards us, and then as we're passing by these guys that just did this drug deal, I
Mhm.
hear this motherfucker right here, he owes me some money. And I see this guy who's walking, approaching us, and I was like, God damn, am I gonna get stuck in the middle of some
I'm
gang
stuck
shit?
in the middle.
Like, but like, we're both like, boyfriend and I both just hand in hand. We just keep on walking, keep on
Yeah.
going. And then we get to this like underpass, get like other side of the underpass. That's when you're like right there in the gentrified neighborhoods,
Mhm.
And all of a sudden I was like, so did you
Oh,
hear?
the across the train tracks thing
Yeah.
is real.
Yeah, no, seriously. I was like, did you hear any of that to him? And he was just like, oh, which part? The drug deal or the guy that owed him money? And I was like, thank God. It's like, I'm so
Yeah.
glad you were paying attention
That's
to.
definitely the situation. You just keep walking though and
Just keep
pretend like you're
walking.
not a part of it until it's like, oh, I have to be a part of
Yeah.
it. Like,
I was just like, man, please just leave us alone. Like, we're just minding our own. Like,
yeah.
y'all do you, boo. You do you.
I was waiting for the part of that story where you're like, and then I hear a horse whinnying in the background. Like,
No,
all of a sudden there's a police officer with a Civil War sword out. You're like,
that would have been
Texas is behind on their shit.
a trip. Yeah.
It's got to be hard to run from the cops when they have a horse.
Yeah.
But also, it's got to be hard to catch someone when you're on a horse. Like, where you just arrest them and, like, tie them up and throw them on the back. Like, what are they?
I think they probably just tase you now from the top of the
Oh,
horse.
yeah. Okay. That makes sense.
I mean, but or they're.
I'm imagining Amish police officers. Like, just because you have a horse, you don't trust technology. You gotta have nothing.
If you ran from a cop on a horse, he probably would just shoot you. Honestly, like,
yeah.
let's just be real.
And it's Texas, and
I'm gonna keep saying it.
Yeah. Well, hey, I'm not a big fan of the cops either. They're fucking not a big fan of me. Yeah, I just posted a thing. Somebody on Twitter, it was like KTVB post or whatever for Boise News, and it was like somebody was videotaping the cops, and then they arrested him for videotaping him.
Yeah,
that's a constitutionally like protected thing, and I commented something on there. I'm like, yeah, Idaho cops don't like being recorded. One time I was pulled over by a cop in Mountain Home who then called another cop on the radio and said, here's where we're at. Come down here and say you smell weed in this guy's truck so we can search it. Yeah. And then so, of course, they did, because they're Idaho cops. They do whatever they want.
Shit.
But I got a lawyer subpoena the audio. And then from that audio, they clearly hear him, like, before he even went back to the car and punched my information in, which, if he was doing his job, he would find out I'm a felon on parole. You could search me anyway.
Yeah.
But since he coached someone to lie about, like, reasonable suspicion, they threw the whole thing out because you can't, like, so I got him.
Good.
Yeah, it's good, but literally nothing happened to the cops. So that's like his go-to thing when he pulls someone over is like, hey, my buddy's right down the street. If he comes down here and says he smells weed, we'll just find out if we can get these guys in trouble.
Yeah.
Which is 100% illegal. And that's why they're arresting people when they're filming them, is because if you're doing something wrong, you don't want to be filmed.
Right. No, I've definitely been like, I've been fucked over by BPD a couple of times. Like, I've had like 2 bike cops like circle me in the Grove one time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I was just kind of like, okay, there was nobody else in the Grove, and they were literally just like going circles around me as I like walked through the Grove. I was like, well, this isn't harassment or anything.
Yeah, this is super shady.
Like, yeah, I've had a cop like literally a white couple. They were giving a DUI off to the side, and this cop was standing on the sidewalk. White couple walks in front of me. Cops just like standing there, whatever. And my car was parked like literally like right on the other side of where they were giving this dude this DUI.
Mm-hmm.
So I just like walked over and was like, well, I'll just wait until they're done instead of trying to pull out right now.
Yeah.
And as I like walked over, I was gonna go put my backpack in the car. This cop just instantly just like fucking puffs his chest out, puts his hand on his gun, and I was just like, are you fucking for
what do you think?
reals?
I'm attacking you in the middle of your traffic stop?
Yeah, like, you clearly got backup right here. Like, come on, buddy. And yeah, I just wound up like looking him in the eyes and then spitting just like the biggest loogie on the sidewalk and looking back at him.
Yeah, I fucking hate cops. And I don't understand why their go-to move is always to like put their hand on their gun, puff up, and then if you ask them like, hey, why are you being like that? They're like, well, we've got to fear for our own safety. It's like, if you're so scared, why are you a fucking police officer?
Right?
Like, I'm just walking down the street.
Are you supposed to protect me?
Yeah,
like,
and
I'm
you're
not feeling so confident that you can do your job.
Yeah,
I never have been.
Every time someone walks up, you grab your gun. Like, that's not a brave person.
I actually had the pleasure of just like fucking not dissing, but just like walking away from a police officer the other day. Well, it was a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
I had just gotten off the bus stop, and my bus comes like, they drop off downstairs in the bus station, so it's like, come upstairs. I'm walking through the Grove, and I had both my headphones in, and I was in between a song, and I heard, hey, you, I'm talking to you. And I took my headphone out, and I look around, and this cop's like coming up to me, and he was like, well, how are you doing today? And I was like, I'm doing fine. Like, how are you? Just trying to be polite. Whatever.
Yeah.
It's just,
what do you need?
Whatever.
I'm just doing my thing.
And he was like, I just need to ask you a couple of questions. And I was just like, am I being detained? And he goes, no, I just need to ask you, do you suspect me of doing anything wrong? No, I just need to ask you, am I being detained? Well, no. Do you suspect me of doing anything illegal? Well, no, you have a wonderful day, sir.
Yeah.
And I just walked away from him.
Yeah, there's no point in dealing with them because that whole questions game is just, how can I try to get you to say something that can give me more and more leeway to get you into trouble.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing behind like, oh, this car smells like that. Like that guy knew my car didn't smell like weed, so he can't just say that. But if another cop comes and says it, then he's
Right.
fine, right?
Well, it was just like, I like his partner or whatever was kind of standing like by the Costa Vita right there,
Mm-hmm.
and he had like come up to me almost towards Lucky Fins, and yeah, so it's just like they had to have seen me come out of the bus station. Like I wouldn't have seen whatever you guys are looking for anyway. So I
Yeah.
don't need to talk to you. I don't feel bad for not talking to you.
Yeah,
because
well, and
I fucking hate the cops.
if you had just seen like a crazy crime, you would know why the cop's talking to you instead of it just be randomly stopping you on the
Yeah.
street. You'd be like, "Oh yeah, that guy who got his head chopped off. I totally saw that."
Yeah.
Instead of like, "What is this about?" You know?
Yeah. It felt-
Unfortunately, though, we got to wrap up here
Yeah,
pretty soon because I got
sure.
that show right after
Of
this.
course.
But I do always want to like give the guests an opportunity to plug upcoming shows. I'll be putting this out next Wednesday for you, and then all your social media, anywhere people can follow you.
Perfect. Yeah. Hang on 1 second. Oh no. I'm like trying to pull it up right now.
Oh, you're totally fine. In the meantime, if you guys want to follow my stuff, jakeamartin.com for all my social media and links to the podcast. And then if you have questions, comments, or you want to be on the podcast, and for some reason you're not just commenting on YouTube, shoot me an email at fridgefriendspodcast@gmail.com.
All right. Yeah, and then you can catch me at let's see here, the Lester Pearl in Portland of doing Severely Funny. It's a comedy show benefiting the Multiple Sclerosis Society of Portland. Arlo Weirhauser, who's been on Disney Channel and multiple other things, was going to be on that show.
Awesome. And make some money for MS. That's sweet.
And then the Northwest Black Comedy Festival, that'll be at Curious Comedy Theater and their Curious Comedy Theater Annex, the 16th through the 19th. Produced by Dirty Angel Entertainment. Shout out Hijinks and DJ Wildchild, Courtney. Love you guys.
Yeah.
If you're out in that area, come check them out.
Portland peeps, come to the shows. And where can people follow you on social media?
Oh, yeah, you can find me on Instagram at Reese.Samuels. That's Samuels. Reese with an S. Fuck that C shit. And same thing with my Facebook at Reese.Samuels. Yeah. If you want to Venmo me too, same Venmo.
Yeah. Send the digital tips. Send the digital tips. I appreciate you guys listening. Log into your account and subscribe. I get way more viewers than subscribers still, and I'm always saying hit the subscribe button. Thank you guys so much, and thank you, Reese, for coming on. We'll definitely have you again.